Yo, what's good guys? Medical Gamer over here bringing you a Pokemon Sun and Moon theory. Now this is my very first Pokemon Sun and Moon theory video, and I just want to state right off the bat that I believe in the overarching alchemy relation to Pokemon Sun and Moon. There are a lot of points of evidence that do support that theory, and so I just want to state that I believe in that theory, and I'm just trying to make new theories that branch off from that original theory. So now I will get into my theory. So basically in alchemy and astrology, there are 7 classical planets, and those are basically all of the things that you could see with the naked eye. So the 7 classical planets are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So obviously the Earth is not one of them because we live on the Earth and you can't see the Earth. Well, you can see the ground, but you can't see it from outer space. You can't see the Earth when you look into the sky. There you go. Okay, so anyways, we're gonna get to the pretty obvious stuff that I just want to get right off the bat. So I believe that these planets, these 7 classical planets, relate to the Ultra Beast as well as the Legendaries in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So starting with the Sun, I think that it's kind of obvious that the Sun relates to Solgaleo. Solgaleo is the legendary in Pokemon Sun, so it makes sense that those two are related. It even has the letters SOL in its name, Sol, like Sun, so that's pretty straightforward. And the same applies for Moon and Lunala. Lunala is the legendary Pokemon Moon, so it would make sense that those two are related as well. So now let's get to the remaining 5 planets. So let's just point out that we have Solgaleo, we have Lunala, we have UBO1, we have UBO2 expansion, the English one, also known as UBO2 absorption, we have UBO2 beauty, and we tentatively have Marshadow, and that's it. So that's 5, maybe 6 if Marshadow is a legendary Pokemon, and there are 7 classical planets. So I just want to point that out there. And we are going to start with Mercury. So I believe that Mercury resembles UBO1. It's represented by UBO1, and UBO1 is also represented by Lily. It looks like Lily. So now the connection between Mercury and UBO1 and / Lily. So I'm going to be showing you guys various things from Wikipedia and just other pages, and those are going to be my proof. I know Wikipedia is not necessarily the most reliable source, but the information that is usually pretty accurate. So anyways, on the Wikipedia page, it says that Mercury represents a bunch of different things like communication, mentality, things like that. But the things that I wanted to point out are adaptability and variability. So if you see a picture of UBO1 and you see the animation from the video, UBO1 kind of looks like a jellyfish. It looks like a jellyfish that kind of just moves. It's very flexible, very adaptable, and it seems like it can vary in its shape, its fluidity. It just flows, you know? So that's one thing. It's kind of adaptable and variable in its form. And it also looks like Lily. So Lily is known, basically what they've shown about Lily is that Lily cares for Pokemon. You can just see that in the trailers. And so another thing is that Mercury has the Caduceus. So now that is the staff. Obviously I'm Medical Gamer, I know what the staff is. It's the little staff with the twin serpines or snakes that wrap around it. So it's related to medicine. So yep, Medical Gamer. You see that symbol all the time in medicine. And so Lily does things like Lily seems nice and someone that takes care of Pokemon. Now when you think of doctors and medicine, you think of taking care of people. So that is one resemblance. That's another resemblance between Mercury and Lily / UBO1. And a final thing that I wanted to point out is that according to the Wikipedia page, not sure to what extent this is true, but I just noticed this and I wanted to point it out. In medicine, Mercury is associated with the nervous system and the brain. So basically, UBO1 kind of looks like a jellyfish, at least to me. And an interesting thing about jellyfish is that they lack a central nervous system. Now, they do have a pseudo nervous system. They have nerve nets. That's right. I'm trying to get into all these medical terminology. You guys don't really need to know exactly what it is. But my point is that jellyfish have a very unique nervous system, and people even believe that it doesn't have like a central nervous system or peripheral nervous system. It just has those nerve nets. So that's just another connection, because Mercury is associated with the nervous system, and jellyfish kind of have a nervous system, but it's pretty unique. So I think that that's a connection right there. So now let's move on to the next one. So Venus. So now Venus, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory what the connection is. Venus is almost like Aphrodite, if you guys know the Greek mythology, and she's related to the goddess. So she's basically the goddess of love and beauty. So that's going to relate to UBO2 beauty. Like beauty connects with beauty, obviously. So UBO2 beauty also has been said to look like lucamine, which I do agree with, just because of like the hair and the way that it looks. So anyways, that's one thing. The beauty connects with Venus beauty, so that's pretty straightforward. Another thing is that Venus is a female, and Venus kind of seems like a loving person, goddess of love, so almost like a mother. And in one of the trailers, Lucamine, she did say that she was, I believe she said that she was the mother of all Pokemon, or mother to all Pokemon, something along those lines. So there's another connection there between Lucamine and Venus, and obviously UBO2 beauty and Lucamine, because we're kind of intertwining them into one. And yeah, so I think that's another thing is that UBO2 on the Pokemon Japanese website, it says that UBO2 has certain hormones that attract all kinds of Pokemon, all Pokemon. So that is another thing that's along the lines of Venus, because Venus would attract each and every male, and I don't know if Venus attracts females too, but that's very possible. So there's another thing right there. So that is Venus. Now, here is the thing that's up to question. So Mars and Jupiter. So for UBO2 looks like Gladion. So we're going to relate UBO2 expansion. Sorry. UBO2 expansion we are going to relate with Gladion. So now, I don't know whether UBO2 expansion will be Mars or it will be Jupiter. So I will give you reasons for both of them. So one reason that UBO2 could be Mars is that UBO2 is like this buff guy. It's red. It's like, I mean, it's a beetle. That's not really relevant, but it's really big and it looks like it's a fighter. So Mars is the god of war and bloodshed. So it would make sense that the fighter UBO2 would fit in with Mars. And another thing is Mars also kind of is known for being a red planet. So the fact that UBO2 is red is another thing that, UBO2 expansion, I have to keep defining that because there's UBO2 beauty and expansion. So expansion is red, so that's another thing. Mars is the red planet and UBO2 expansion is red. So those are just two kind of connections there. Another thing is that Gladion is known as the enforcer of Team Skull, so that makes you think he's hostile, and that makes you think more of combat, and obviously Mars is combat and war. So things like that, those are the connections between UBO2/Gladion and Mars. Now, Jupiter is also up for debate for UBO2 expansion and /Gladion and Jupiter. So the reason that Jupiter could be related to UBO2 expansion and Gladion is that Jupiter is known as the expansion planet. That is its known name from the astrology and back then when they had alchemy. So Jupiter is known as the expansion planet, and UBO2 was originally called UBO2 Absorption when they released it in the Japanese trailer, but then when they put in the English trailer, they made it known as UBO2 Expansion. So like how beauty related to beauty of Venus, expansion could be related to expansion of Jupiter, because Jupiter is a very gaseous planet and it's known as the expansion planet. So that's the main reason that I think that it could be Jupiter. But once again, there are a lot of supporting reasons for Mars, so it really could go either way. And another thing for Jupiter is kind of it's like the ruling planet. Jupiter is the ruler of the gods, and so it has a lot of authority, and that also kind of makes you think of combat. So it would also make sense if Jupiter was like UBO2, a combat person, and also Gladion is an enforcer, so it makes you think that enforcer is a ruler, even though obviously Guzma's in charge, but Gladion is an enforcer, so there's another relation there with Jupiter, who is the enforcer of the other gods. So that is my little spiel about UBO2 expansion and / Gladion and Jupiter / Mars. Now let's get to Saturn. So Saturn, obviously we don't have anything else. I've checked off all 5 of the guys that we have so far, and I will get back to Mars Shadow. But Saturn is there's a lot of things about Saturn out there. So Saturn was basically the leader of the Titans. So Saturn was the father of Jupiter, or Zeus, if you guys want to talk in Greek mythology. It's like Kronos and Zeus. So Saturn, it says it's associated with focus, precision, nobility, things like that. I mean, nothing really stand out-ish, but one thing is that it has domination. It could be the leader of all of the, like, if Saturn is UBO3 or anything like that, then it could be the leader of all of the Ultra Beasts. You know, we don't know how many Ultra Beasts are out there, so that could make sense because Saturn is the father of Zeus, so of Jupiter, or Kronos is the father of Zeus. You know, Roman and Greek mythology. Sorry, just kind of getting them confused. So yeah, Saturn could be the ultimate leader of all of the Ultra Beasts, which would be awesome. Like, that would kind of make sense. And if they had UBO3 in both of the games, then that would make even more sense. And the fact that UBO2 is specific to each game, the beauty versus expansion, but UBO3 will be a commonality between them, just like UBO1, I believe, is in both of the games. Now, another thing that just came to mind is that Mars and Venus are basically complements of each other. If in terms of the planets and alchemy and astrology, Mars and Venus are known as complements, so one goes with the other. They're both tied together. So it would make sense that UBO2, if UBO2 beauty is Venus and UBO2 is expansion is Mars, that they're tied together. They're both known as UBO2. So there's another reason that UBO2 expansion could be Mars and UBO2 beauty could be Venus. Now, finally, I know it's been pretty long, but I'm at the final part. I just want to point out, if Mars Shadow is in fact a legendary in the game, we honestly don't know who or what Mars Shadow is. But if Mars Shadow is a legendary in the game, then that would go towards the theory that Mars would be Mars Shadow. And the reason that I'm saying that is mainly because Mars Shadow has MARS, the word Mars in its name. Like, literally, it's Mars with shadow, or Mar with shadow. So that would make sense. And Mars could also be related to like shadows and death and things like that, because obviously the god of war, the god of death. So death relates to shadows and things being black. So Mars Shadow would make sense. And yeah, so that's pretty much all of them. And I'd like to point out that there are modern planets. So obviously you guys know, hopefully you guys know, that there's Uranus, there's Neptune, and there's also Pluto, which was proven to not be a planet, but in terms of astrology, Pluto is still known as a planet. So I don't know if there are other UBs more than just UBO3, then they could be expanding to the other planets that are not the classical planets, but they still branch off from astrology, still branch off from alchemy. So that could also make sense. And I'll just briefly go over them. So Uranus is basically the father of Saturn, and Neptune is almost like Poseidon if you're going with Roman versus Greek mythology, so god of the sea. And lastly, Pluto is like Hades in Greek mythology, and it's god of the underworld. So maybe there'll be UBs, Ultra Beasts related to those, who knows, or maybe related to other Roman or Greek gods and goddesses. I highly doubt that, but it's possible. It is possible. With Sun and Moon, anything can happen. So that's about it for my theory. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I know it might seem a little bit out there, but I really do believe in the alchemic connections between Sun and Moon and alchemy. I just repeated myself, but it's okay. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to see more. If you want me to do more theories, let me know, and I'll be happy to do so. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace.